Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salamu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. We are continuing reading of Maulana Maududi's discussion of Maulana Maududi's Islamic constitutionalism and its critique. And last time we looked at some positive aspects of Maulana Maududi's thought, which included his conception of Islam as a complete and closed system and the only universal civilization, which he takes from Shah Waliullah. His conception of jihad as a permanent revolutionary struggle. Jihad is a rejection of the view that jihad is a defensive war for the national liberation. Okay. I don't think we did this last time, so we have a look at this. So his conception of jihad as a permanent revolutionary strategy. And his reinterpretation of jihad as a revolution or revolutionary struggle or inqilab, revolutionary struggle, is based on, that's his ijtihad, which comes through a realization that in order to establish an Islamic way of life, and protect Islamic way of life, in the modern times, requires, and protecting it requires a revolutionary struggle. And a revolutionary struggle which is permanent in the sense that it is something which is continuous with modern times. And I think obviously the concept of jihad is central to Islam. And jihad with your pen, jihad with your tongue, jihad with your sword if needed in order to protect Islamic way of life, is central to Islam. But In modern times, what makes it indispensable indispensable in modern time are two things. One is the existence of imperialism, and the other is modern state. Because imperialism has threatened the political existence of Islamic community, because imperialism is threatened by Islamic way of life, because capitalism and Islam are two totally opposite things. Like Christianity. So after defeating Christianity from outside world, Islam is more comprehensive challenge to imperialism. So because of the imperialism, it is essential that jihad takes the form of revolutionary struggle. And since imperialism is continuous as long as capitalism exists, this struggle is permanent as well. This is Maududi's ijtihad, which is, I think, the correct ijtihad. That's one thing, is imperialism. The other thing which is related to it is modern state. What modern state, something like modern state has never existed before. Existed before modern time, because a state has always existed in one form or another, but modern state is comprehensive and like comprehensive in the sense that it encompasses the whole life. It is coterminous with life itself. It encompasses the whole life. So in that sense, state replaces what we call deen in the modern world. So that's why an Islamic state in the modern sense is not an option, because if within Islamic community there is a modern state which is not Islamic, it means that something other than Islam is controlling their life. And guiding their life. And similarly, imperialism, because imperialism is also comprehensive. And the second thing about a state is it is totalizing. Not necessarily totalitarian, even though there can be totalitarian states. Modern state can be totalitarian as well, but that's a weak form of modern state. The real modern state, which is more powerful and enduring, is the totalizing state, like a liberal state. which again encompass whole life, in the sense that either it shapes everything, and anything which exists in a modern way of life, its condition of existence is provided by modern state. So even if there is a freedom of religious practice, that is sanctioned by the liberal state in the first sense. And in that sense, religion itself is in the domain of. So in that sense, modern state is totally opposite to the concept of secularism, in the sense that where people think that there's a sphere of religion and there's a sphere of politics, and they don't interfere with each other. In modern state, religion and anything else is shaped by and exists and legitimized by modern state. So nothing exists outside modern state. That's why Hobbes is very important, because he gives us the concept of this totalizing state through his concept of sovereignty, for example. Anyway, so because of these two things, and imperialism and the emergence of modern state, and both as comprehensive systems, and obviously imperialism cannot exist without modern state. Comprehensive and totalizing, both are. Because of these two things, it's impossible to sustain Islamic community and Islamic way of life without permanent revolutionary struggle, that is, struggle on all three levels: individual, social, and the state level, in the more specific sense of the state. And connect all these three in such a form that they culminate in the propagation of Islamic way of life and the strengthening of its institutions and its existence. So in that sense, Maududi, today you can't have any jihad without a permanent revolutionary struggle in this sense of the word I just described. And it is also important that he differentiates Islamic revolutionary struggle from the struggles of national liberation, whether those national liberations are, Muslim national liberation movements like the movement of Pakistan or other movement or any other. And the basic difference is this: the purpose of Islam is to invite people to the worship of Allah. Worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And our aim is for this worship to become universal, and so that every human being in this world is able to attain salvation in the hereafter. That's the purpose of Islam. On the other hand, national liberation movement struggles against imperialism because not because imperialism is or capitalism as a way of life they reject. No. What they reject is that this way of life is imposed on them by British rather, or French, rather than their own elite. So when Pakistan will come into existence, or Nigeria or Algeria, what will happen will not be the continuation of the struggle to implement Islamic way of life at all levels, but would be, Pakistani capitalism or Algerian capitalism or Tunisian capitalism or Egyptian capitalism. So Islam is against imperialism in its universal form, as well as against capitalism against capitalism in its international, universal, as well as national form. And our quarrel with imperialism is not that they have a cake which they are eating all by themselves, so we won't share in this piece of cake. That's what national liberation movements wanted. But we are our quarrel with imperialism is we think that capitalism as a way of life leads to Jahannam, leads to the wrath of God in this world as well. And what we need to overcome capitalism so that we can establish worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in all aspects of life. So that's like one of the main ijtihad of Maulana Maududi. And ijtihad which is correct ijtihad. Okay, so I think we'll stop here, and we'll just go back to the text, but we'll stop here and we'll continue with the last point next term, inshallah. So Maulana Maududi is a seminal figure in contemporary Islamic thought. His critically important contributions are his development of Shah Waliullah's conception of Islam as a complete closed system as the only universal civilization. It is on this basis that Maulana Maududi makes a distinction between Islam and Jahiliyyah. We did this last time. And his conception of jihad as a permanent revolutionary strategy and rejection of the view that jihad is a defensive war for national liberation. So Maulana Maududi's seminal contribution in this regard was his landmark critique of Muslim nationalism. In the third volume of his Siyasi Kashmakash, his book Siyasi Kashmakash, volume 3, is dedicated to devastating critique of Muslim nationalism. The first one is the critique of Indian nationalism. The second one is the critique of one of those as well. And the third one is the critique of Muslim nationalism. Okay, so Islam is differentiated clearly from both capitalism, imperialism, and nationalism, both Islamic, Muslim, and non-Muslim nationalisms, by Maulana Maududi rahmatullah alayh. That's one of his enduring ishtihad, a positive ishtihad, which makes him such a seminal figure, which makes him an imam of this blessed struggle.